In yesterday's video, I asked the audience whether you would like me to do a standalone video about search dogs. Over the last few days in the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case, we've been talking on and off about search dogs because in the court documents it was stated that urban air scent dogs were used to search for Lilly and Jack. A lot of you said, yes please, if you followed my channel for any length of time and across different cases, then you'll know that I've talked a lot about search dogs, and I do have a bunch of videos including search dog content. But as requested, let's do a standalone video about the different types of search dogs that can be used to find missing people. Let's go. Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning, the 5th of September. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to show you some examples. I'll describe what's going on during these examples, but I think the easiest thing to do is just to show you how these dogs work. Now, I'm not going to go into the training of search dogs, it's just out of the scope of this video on this channel. Any dog can be taught to search for, well, pretty much whatever you want. Honestly, some dogs are more motivated than others, but if you've got a dog at home doing little scent work games with them, it's going to make them happy. Dogs were born to sniff. In training a search dog, all you're doing is honing its natural skill. Just by simple positive association between whatever scent you want them to find and something good happening to the dog, like a reward, then that's how it's done. I'm making it sound really simple. It's not really simple, but we'll leave it at that in terms of training. What I think would be useful, before we get into the examples, is just to explain why dogs are so good at scent detection. For millennia, it has been known that dogs have got a fantastic sense of smell. They've been bred for and adapted to loads of different roles, whether it be searching for missing persons, whether it be drug detection, explosive detection, electronics detection, tracking, trailing, air scenting. All of these different jobs are used in the true crime world. They are indispensable assets. It's why police forces all over the world invest in dogs to assist in public safety and law enforcement. They are incredibly effective, but they do make mistakes, and sometimes they don't find whatever it is that they're set out to find. And there's generally reasons for that, whether it be to do with the dog's lack of experience, whether it's to do with handler error, or whether it's to do with environmental challenges. All of these things can come into play. But why are dogs so good at this? Well, dogs possess one of the most powerful olfactory systems in the entire animal kingdom. Fun fact here for you: bears have got a sense of smell that is estimated to be 7 times better than that of a bloodhound. Bloodhounds having the best sense of smell, arguably. But bears, would you fancy training a bear to be a search and rescue bear? I don't think so. That could be pretty disastrous. Anyway, us humans have roughly 5 to 6 million olfactory receptors in our noses, but dogs have got upwards of 220 million olfactory receptors in their nose. And there's a special gland inside a dog's mouth that also helps them with scent detection. And their brains, the area of their brain where that scent is processed and interpreted and understood, is bigger in dogs than it is in humans. So the sense of smell is a dog's primary sense. And because they're loyal, because they're domesticated, because they're trainable, unlike bears, it's dogs that get these top jobs. But what are these top jobs? Well, in the last few days on the Lilly and Jack case, I've been talking about the differences between ground scenting and air scenting. I asked ChatGPT to give me some text about ground scenting versus air scenting, and actually ChatGPT did quite well. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to show you some examples about these two different types of methods. So ground scenting versus air scenting. Two primary methods of scent detection define the roles of most search dogs: ground scenting and air scenting. So what is ground scenting first? Ground scenting dogs primarily focus on odours that have fallen and settled to the ground. These odours may come from human footsteps, crushing vegetation, disturbed soil, or shed skin cells and oils that collect on surfaces. As we are walking along, we are losing odour. Everybody does. We mask our natural scent by frequent showers and deodorants and things like that, but even that doesn't fool a dog. You can have 10 showers in a day, you can put on as much deodorant as you want, and a dog still would be able to assess and follow your natural scent. And as we walk along, as we go through daily life, then we're sloughing skin cells all the time, we're producing oils, we're producing sweat. So as someone walks along, the scent is coming off them, it's flying off into the air, and it's settling on the ground. And ground scenting dogs are characterised by keeping their noses close to the surface of the ground, moving carefully along a path where scent has accumulated. Scent might pool in various areas depending on the wind direction, the wind speed, the environmental conditions. There's a difference between tracking and trailing. Traditional tracking is not considered as useful to find missing people because what that dog is doing, nose close to the ground, think about a bloodhound. They are meticulous, but they are tracking the specific footprints through crushed vegetation, changes to the immediate environment. Trailing, however, much more useful. A trailing dog is following an individual's path. They are using all the tools in their toolbox. So they're using a combination of ground scent and air scent when they're trailing. And even trailing has its limitations, even when a dog is using all the tools in its toolbox. It can be interrupted by environmental changes that have happened since the person went missing. Heavy rain, wind in urban areas, traffic, lots of other people walking along the path that that person took will degrade that scent very quickly. A police dog that is finding a criminal that has maybe run away from a crime scene, and that's just happened, it's a crime in progress, and even in urban areas that scent is very fresh, so the chances of that dog catching up with a criminal hiding in a bin or hiding under a vehicle, it's pretty high. But the longer that person has been missing, the more challenging it is for a dog to find it, because scent naturally degrades. It degrades because it includes human tissue. Skin cells degrade just naturally. DNA degrades. The oils that have been sloughed off a person degrade. And then if it's been stormy, if it's been windy, if people have walked over that track too many times, traffic, all of those things can degrade a scent even further. I want to show you this example. This is a training video, and I really love this because of its simplicity. And this is on the channel Dog Training by Canine1.com. And this dog is training, finding a person who was hidden.
You know, tons of vegetation and stuff like that. These longer leashes are harder to handle, but in this case, a longer leash here would be helpful for him. Now, this handler is just starting to use a line with this dog.
And what you can see, I know the narrator's talking about the type of leash that's being used, but you can see that this dog is sticking to the grass because this is a natural surface and this is up against the wall. So as the person has run by, then the scent has been sloughed off and it sticks more easily to natural surfaces like grass than it does artificial surfaces like a road or a path. And even if the person had walked all the ways over here and the wind was coming in this direction, then the scent would have fallen onto this grass. It would have pooled around this wall. And this is what this dog is indicating, that the track is along here.
And you'll see it ends up getting tangled over here. But this dog's very excited. And you can see if he was cut off leash, he would have left his handler in the dust. And that's why eventually you do need to put him on a leash for safety issues. And once you do long, I mean, these are very short.
So this dog is only in training. He's very excitable. Why? Because his target's very close by.
Short trails. But if this was something...
So you can see when he goes onto the road, he very quickly moves away because he thinks, no, that's getting weaker. That's getting weaker. I've got to go along here. But what happens next is fascinating.
Long, like a mile or more, the dog is gone. So you need to attach yourself to them. Now, this is interesting here. The dog...
There's the person. There's the person. But the dog has run out of grass and the person is up here. So the scent is now getting weaker. The dog's just gone past because he's had his nose to the ground. He's not looked up. His nose is to the ground. But watch what he does. He corrects himself.
The dog is following human scent, and this is why it's different from tracking. See, I'm actually hiding up over there. The dog was following my scent that was blown all over the place on the hard pavement. And over here, he lost the scent. He passed it. And look at the dog's body language. Completely changes. Their eyeballs go completely blind, it seems, when they're really using their nose.
They do. They absolutely do. It's like they forget to use their eyes because they're so concentrating on their sense of smell. It's almost like they're seeing the scent and their eyeballs don't work. It's fascinating. But this dog is now confused. And the guy he's looking for is right here. But he's confused. So he corrects himself.
Especially if someone is staying still. Now, this is where you're going to see some tracking. Dogs are slick. They have a lot of tools in their toolbox. He's going to go back to where he last smelled the scent, and now he's going to be more careful. All right, he was able to move quick by following the direction of the scent, and now he goes back and starts smelling the grass. And he's going to actually start smelling exactly where I stepped there. See, that's tracking. And then
he finds him because he went back to the place where he knows that scent was, and then he literally tracked to the footsteps and found him. Fascinating. So dogs are clever, left to their own devices, and scent detection dogs, often the most independent puppy in the litter. It turns out to be the best dog because what you want that dog to do is think for themselves. That if they lose a scent, then we can't communicate with them in human language. So we have to rely on the dog and let the dog correct themselves and go back. And some handlers get anxious and don't seem to be able to do that. But you have to let the dog work it out. Let me show you another example of trailing. So again, this is another training video, and this is a Labrador. The previous dog was a German Shepherd. This is a Labrador. German Shepherds and to a lesser extent Malinois are the preferred police dogs, certainly here in the UK. The majority of police dogs, like general police dogs who do have some trailing training, are German Shepherds. The military use Malinois a lot because they're just so energetic, but the police use the slightly more steady German Shepherd. But for article detection, so things like bomb detection, explosive detection, drug detection, electronics detection, either Labradors or Springer Spaniels are used here in the UK. I've noticed that in the US, Spaniels are not used by law enforcement. I see a lot of German Shepherds, I see Labradors, I see Bloodhounds. We don't tend to use Bloodhounds here in the UK. They're bigger, they're more prone to health issues, they don't live as long, and they're quite stubborn. So this is a Labrador. Again, it's a training video, but this dog is trailing a man who has been out here for several hours and left a trail, and this dog is out to find him. So again, this is trailing, and he's using all the tools in his toolbox. He's using ground scent. Trailing dogs actually will also use air scent. They will.
I really wanted to put these dogs to their test, so I tried to trick them a little bit. As I was walking into the woods and we were getting lost, I left a kind of a trail to distract them. What I ended up doing is leaving one of Michael's, my grandson's toys, out where we spent the night, and then we moved on. I was wondering, would this dog be able to pick it up and move forward?
I'm taking the GPS. I'm marking that we found a clue, which is a small toy. I'm marking it on our GPS, and we're going to download this when we get back so we can know our track. And Dave's going to take a picture of the toy so we can see if it's associated with the lost subject.
So the dog went to that area where that toy had been left, but knows that there's more scent to be found, so he's off again.
Steve, there's a footprint in this mud here.
All right. Dave, you get up there. You take. Where did you see it, Marty?
Right there, there's a tread. There's 2 treads right here.
So where the ground is muddy, they know they're on the right path, potentially, because there are footprints. Now, this is exactly what happened in Lilly and Jack's case, that they found footprints that the cops, I think, believe that it's certainly consistent with being the tread from Lily's boots. Kind of felt that they were in the right area. So this is like a teamwork thing. The humans in the party are using their primary sense, which is sight, looking for footprints, looking for disturbance, looking for dropped items, while the dog is on ahead using his superior, by many times, sense of smell.
You can see that there's a different tread from this one and a smaller tread over here. They're not the same boot.
All right, so they figured out that there's 2 people, and they know they're looking for 2 people. They're looking for a grandpa and his grandson who are lost in the woods.
We tried to catch that plane and run across the field here,
So these are the 2 that the dog is searching for, and the dog is back on the track here.
Oh! Who's that? I see someone! Say, hey! Say loud!
Hey, and they found him. Now, this is easy for a dog. This is probably the easiest type of environment for a dog to trail in. This is natural surface. There's lots of places where scent can pool, and it's also somewhat protected from the wind as well because of the trees. So this is an ideal environment for a dog to follow a track that could be hours or even days old. You will have a lot more protection for those scents that have been left by the missing person than you would do in an urban area. But what about air scenting? Right, well, air scenting dogs, by contrast, work with airborne scent particles carried by the wind. They hold their heads high and they move quickly, and they cast back and forth. It's called quartering, to try to locate the strongest concentration of scent in the air. So air scenting dogs move quickly because they don't need to follow the path that the person took. They can take shortcuts because as they're quartering, as they're searching the air, then they'll find the strongest concentration and then they will follow that. So it's valuable in search and rescue missions where the precise route of the missing person isn't known, which will be why they used air scenting dogs in Lilly and Jack's case, because they don't know what route Lilly and Jack took. However, what I would have liked to have seen also the use of ground scenting dogs. Once they found that boot print, I would have liked them to bring in ground scenting dogs to see if they could actually get a track through the woods. But according to the court documents, it doesn't appear that they've done that. But these air scenting dogs can cover large areas very effectively. Now, the breeds that are used often in this type of work, this type of search and rescue, they have to have a lot of stamina. They're covering a lot of ground. In this country, volunteer organisations are increasingly using border collies because they can just go forever. I'm going to show you an example in a moment of a border collie team. But the trade-off here, airborne scents degrade very quickly. Once the wind has blown around this scent, then it's lost. Now, if someone's, let's say, for example, lying injured, they're in a stationary position, but they're still sloughing off scent. So an air scenting dog still has the chance to find a person, even if they've stopped moving around. But it becomes more difficult. It's easy for air scenting dogs to miss the clues that a ground scenting dog might be able to pick up on. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Absolutely fascinating. Now, this is from the UK, and this is a team of volunteer border collies in the Calder Valley here in the UK. And I'll leave a link to all of these 3 videos in the description box, and I'd strongly recommend that you watch these in their entirety. So these are a team of border collies finding a lost hiker, and these are air centres, and look at the difference in the way these dogs work.
Okay, so what we're going to see here, the handler's going to use his dog to search for a missing person in this area. What he'll do is he'll set the dog off. The dog will do what we call quartering. The dog will hunt, covering the wind. Remember, the dog is searching the wind, not the ground. So all the dog needs to do is cover enough of the area that the dog's been where wind's coming off all of the area in order for the dog to find that missing person. Okay, so you can see the handler's prepared his dog to set off and search the area. He's just fitted a working jacket to the dog, both to give him the visual of the dog and also to trigger the dog so the dog knows she's working, she's doing her job. The objective of this is for the dog to cover enough of the area that the dog's been through the wind that's come off all of the ground. So the dog is searching the wind, not the ground, and that's important to bear in mind. The dog does not need to cover all the ground. The dog merely needs to cover the wind that's been on all of the ground. What will happen when the handler goes into the area to begin with, they will make an assessment based on their experience, the terrain and the wind conditions of how big a patch of ground they cover by going over. On a day like today, the wind is very strong. That dog is probably covering around 50 yards. And what the handler will do will be to devise a search strategy where they will cover enough of the area that they've been within 50 yards of every piece of ground. It's very important you understand the dog and how the dog works, because the big part of our job is searching areas and saying that no one's in that area. So you need to know how the dog's going to react in every circumstance so that you can read that dog's body language.
And the dog in these types of settings is working a long ways away from the handler. So the dog is basically using his own brain. Border collies are fantastic dogs for this kind of work.
You can interpret how that dog's working and why, so that you've got the strongest chance possible of knowing exactly what's in any area that you've searched. Because of the way the dog's trained, the handler can send the dog off to find people. The handler can carry on his own path, and the dog's working independently of the handler, so they're covering a lot more of the ground. What you can see there is the dog's actually picked up on the scent of the person. You'll hear the dog bark, say that they've found the missing person. That was very, very quick. The dog's now going to find her way back, so she's actually got to find David. The dog's made her way out the way she went in. She'll have an idea where he is in the area, and she's actually working her way back to him to tell him that she's found. And what you'll see as you watch the dog is she's identified where he is, she's making her way up to him. She's going to go and bark at David to demonstrate that she's made the find.
So the dog then goes back to the handler to say, hey, I found him. And then the handler will then follow the dog. The dog will then go back to the person. So the dog has got to remember where the person was. So these dogs are absolutely fantastic. They really are. But they do have their limitations, as I said. If a massive storm went through after this person went missing, it's very difficult for a dog to then pick up a scent trail in the air. But in ideal environmental conditions, these dogs are absolutely invaluable. And what these air scenting dogs do as well is they're able to differentiate between, obviously, the handler's scent, but any other person in their party. So let's say the handler is working with a couple of flankers who are looking for clues as they walk along. The dog will know their scent and it will disregard their scent, just ignore their scent. Now, with trackers or trailers, most likely they've been given a scent article to use. An air scenting dog isn't. An air scenter is looking for any original strange human scent that's out there. So not great if there's a lot of people out in a particular environment, which is another issue, I think, for the air scenting dogs used in Lilly and Jack's case. I think the air centers are great, but there are limitations, and I absolutely think that the RCMP made a mistake in not bringing ground scenting dogs in once they'd discovered that boot print. Of course, it's far too late now after 4 months. You're looking at, you want as fresh a scent as possible. After a week, the chances of finding somebody becomes very slim indeed. Dogs are a fantastic resource for law enforcement and for search and rescue. They are a living, breathing embodiment of the partnership that humans and dogs have had for millennia. But they do have their limitations, and we've got to understand that as well. All right, hopefully this has been of some use to you. Go and check out the 3 videos in their entirety. They are absolutely fascinating, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.